Okay, this is the point where our history lesson is exactly going along with our literature book, The Scarlet Pimpernel. Today we are reading chapter 10, which is about the Reign of Terror. And this is what was happening at the time of the French Revolution where the Scarlet Pimpernel takes place. So I'm going to read this along with you today. It says, the revolution turns bloody. When the French Revolution began in 1789, liberal-minded people throughout Europe and the United States applauded the change. Enlightenment ideals were being put into practice. People were beginning to throw off tyranny and live in liberty and justice. Okay, so this all sounds good. We've talked before. The ideas of the revolution were not bad, just some of the methods that they used to go about it. Okay, so the big question here, what was the Reign of Terror? By the end of 1793, the world was horrified by the savage turn the revolution had taken. Nearly all the nations of Europe had lined up to fight a war against France, but the real savagery was about to begin. The rumbling of the tumbrils or carts through the streets could be heard every afternoon. They carried the prisoners who had been convicted by the Revolutionary Tribunal that morning. The trumbles carried enemies of the revolution. These might include a middle-aged woman whose crime was weeping as she watched her husband being guillotined, a young man who had chopped down a tree planted in honor of the revolution, and a young woman who was rumored to have said she did not care a fig for the revolution. If a person had a slip of the tongue and used monsieur or madame, that could be cause for becoming a suspect. Under the new law of suspects, anyone who criticized the revolution in any way was possibly subject to trial and execution. How had it come to this? The Jacobins and the Committee of Public Safety. When the Legislative Assembly took office in 1791, bourgeois citizens formed political clubs to discuss their ideas. Members were deputies of the Assembly. One of the most radical clubs was the Jacobins. When the National Convention took power, Jacobin leaders, along with the sans-culottes, turned the revolution on a violent path. It was the Jacobins who had demanded the deaths of Louis and Marie Antoinette. It was the Jacobins who had insisted on going to war against Austria and its allies. Many people, especially those in the countryside, disagreed with the Jacobins and the new path of the revolution, and some were in open revolt. But the Jacobins soon took control of the government. Okay, let's look at a couple of these vocabulary words. We have tribunal, which is a type of court, a group appointed to make judgments. So these aristocrats would be taken to court and found guilty of various crimes. Law of suspects, a law passed during the French Revolution that allowed the arrest of people suspected of opposing the revolution. So basically anybody who didn't agree with the revolution or the revolt that was going on would be found guilty of crimes. And Jacobin would be a member of a violent, extreme left-wing group during the French Revolution. So this is really the group that started taking these good revolutionary ideas and just taking them way too far and becoming way too violent. France was in serious trouble. Although there had been a few French successes in the war with Austria, things were going badly. The French army had suffered severe defeats. Enemy forces surrounded it, and a British fleet threatened coastal cities. In the countryside there were uprisings and outright civil war in some provinces. What was worse, there were some people who were willing to welcome enemy troops. They were, for the most part, royalists and Catholics. Prices were rising, and food was in short supply. Many believed that the country was filled with traitors, trying to overturn the revolution. These people believed that the time had come for action. Okay, so a royalist is going to be someone who still supports the king and the queen. So in other words, they're against the revolution. A traitor is a person who's disloyal, a person who betrays his or her country. To help solve these problems, the National Convention established the Committee of Public Safety. In July 1793, a man took control of the committee whose name has been associated with terror ever since. Maximilien Robespierre. Was Maximilien Robespierre a man with high principles who worked tirelessly for the revolution, or was he a hypocrite, a vain, self-centered, ruthless tyrant? His contemporaries could never agree, and historians have not settled the question either. What is known is that he was a small man who rarely smiled. Green was his favorite color. Even his eyeglasses were tinted green. He kept in his room a sculptured bust of himself, along with paintings and engravings showing him in various poses. By his bedside, he kept A Social Contract, a book by Enlightenment philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau. He was completely dedicated to the revolution. Robespierre believed that he had to root out all opposition to the revolution. Terror was his method, and the motto of the Jacobins, "Let terror be the order of the day." Terror, he claimed, would allow virtue to flourish. In September 1793, the Committee of Public Safety introduced the law of suspects. Under it, people had only to be suspected of being a traitor, or of not wholeheartedly agreeing with the revolution, to be brought to trial and condemned. They were brought by the thousands to the guillotine. On October 1st, the prisons held 2,400 so-called suspects awaiting trial and execution. By late December, they held 4,500. By the end of the terror, people were being tried in groups of up to 50 at a time and sent to execution. The final death toll? About 40,000 French men and women were guillotined or shot. The flow of blood, however, did not help the food shortage. In spite of controls put on the price of food, there was a near famine in Paris. On the base of the guillotine in the public square, some unknown graffiti artist wrote, "There is no butcher shop in Paris except upon this square." It was fortunate for this man that Robespierre never found him, or he would have been executed next to his own graffiti. Okay, and vocabulary word here, famine is the shortage of food and widespread hunger. Robespierre's undoing came when he turned on fellow Jacobins in the National Convention. On July 27, 1794, Robespierre stood before a meeting of the convention. His purpose was to accuse several deputies of being suspects, but the deputies knew of his plans and had grown tired of the bloodletting. Before he could speak, the deputies began shouting, "Down with the tyrant," and "Long live the Republic." Robespierre and his friends on the Committee of Public Safety were taken to jail. Knowing that he was lost, Robespierre attempted to shoot himself, but he only wounded himself in the jaw. The next day, he too faced the guillotine, his face wrapped in bloody rags. Robespierre, the last leader of the revolution, died in the same manner as those he had condemned. The other committee members met the same fate. Among them was the young Saint-Just, the person who had insisted on the execution of Louis XVI. There was a terrible irony to these executions. The revolution had spun so far out of control that the revolutionary leaders were now turning on each other.